Let's talk about stress. So many people are under stress in our world, and there's different types of stress. How does the hyperbaric oxygen therapy help with stress?
So that is a big question.
I know.
So the summary would be this, and I think this is important for listeners to really just understand. When we use the word stress these days, I think we've really narrowed it down into just, pretty much like the emotional stress that people think about. But I want to expand people's understanding of what stress actually is. Stress is anything that causes change inside of your body. And so anytime your body is exposed to anything that it has to adapt to, good or bad, it causes some type of stress. Now, as I alluded to, there are good stressors and bad stressors. In other words, we know that exercise is healthy. And if you're doing the right type, the right amount, the right intensity of exercise for you, then that's a stressor to your body. But the end result of that stressor, the change that comes from that stressor, should be improved performance, improved strength, improved balance, depending on what you're working on. Mm-hmm. If that exercise is too intense or too frequent, or you're not getting enough recovery, well, then that stress can break time that have built you up over time. So it's important to understand that stressors can be positive and stressors can be negative. It's also important to recognize that there are three sources of stress. There's physical stress, there's chemical stress, and there's emotional stress. In other words, physical stress are the things we do to our bodies. Chemical stress is all the stuff we put into our bodies. And emotional stress is all of the stuff that we think about. And each one of them can play a 33.33% role in our overall health. And so stress isn't just the emotional side. And we know this because let's say somebody might exercise and might have a tough day, a really, a rough day, a down day, and they exercise, and then emotionally they feel better afterwards. Yeah. So there was negative emotional stress followed by a positive physical stress. And as a result, it actually shifted our emotional attitude, right? Mm-hmm. And so there was emotional benefit from that physical challenge. We also know where, you eat something you shouldn't have, right? And so maybe that's a chemical stressor, eating unhealthy food, and then you don't feel well physically having eaten that food. So now the chemical stressor caused a physical stress on your body. And then you might even beat yourself up about it. I shouldn't have done that. I know I shouldn't have done that. That was so stupid, right? So now there's an emotional stress that was triggered after the physical stress, after the chemical stress. And so I bring all that up to say that all of these types and amounts of stressors are all interacting inside of our bodies at all times. Mm-hmm. And the goal should always just be to, number one, understand that. And number two, always look for balance within those stressors. We need to always be looking for where can we add some positive stressors to our body so that we can continue to grow and change and adapt and heal. And where can we remove some of the negative stressors from our life, some of those negative emotional stressors or negative physical stressors or negative chemical stressors that we know over time are detracting from our health. And if we can do that, increase the good stressors and decrease the negative stressors, as a result, by default, your health is going to absolutely start to climb. Mm-hmm. We see that all the time with patients. If you see that your health over the time, years go by, right? You say, wow, I don't feel as well as I thought that I could. I don't feel as well as I thought that I should. These last few years, I'm having more pains than I used to. What you can say is that your body over those years is breaking down. Mm-hmm. And if you're seeing that be a pattern, that should be a signal, not that you're just getting older and you need to deal with it. That's a signal that you need to actually do something about it and shift your physiology to make sure that you stop that pattern from happening. Most of us are breaking down far faster than we were designed to. Absolutely. And so the stress conversation is really what's behind, I would say, the majority of those issues. That being said, hyperbaric, what does it do? Well, again, number one, it starts to reduce a lot of those negative stressors, like inflammation is a negative chemical stressor, right? Damage to our cells, those are all negative stressors. So what hyperbaric does is it helps eliminate some of the inflammation. It improves our rate of recovery. It improves our ability to perform and to heal. And it improves our capacity to adapt. And if we're doing all of those things, where by definition, we're literally reversing a lot of the consequences of those negative stressors inside of our body.
There was a recent research study out of Stanford, and it basically said that embracing stress is more important than reducing stress, Stanford psychologist says. And you also used the word adapt a few minutes ago. And in your book, you write about survival of the fittest. So many people think that fittest means strength, but that's not exactly what it means, is it, Dr. Soners?
Right. Fittest is your ability to adapt to a changing environment. I think the one thing that everybody can agree about is the world we live in is changing much more rapidly than any of our physiology, our DNA, our genetics. These things change over time, but our environment is changing much more rapidly than any of these other areas. And so really survival is about how well you can adapt to that changing environment and what can you do to improve your level of adaptation. That's the person that's going to be fittest. That's the person, not only survival, but you and I know this. Yes, most people would love to have a long life, but nobody wants a long life without quality. And so really what we're after is how do we improve the quality of our life for as many years as possible so that we don't have a deteriorating lifestyle over the last 20 to 25 years, which is what we really see these days. We all kind of just want to have an amazing life, do whatever we want, and one day just not wake up. That's kind of, I think, the goal in terms of, for most people. And so how do we do that? How do we improve that? We do that by taking steps to challenge ourselves so that those challenges produce healthy stressors and improve cellular function over our lifespan.
Absolutely.
Rather than degrade it over that time. And that's really, I think, the big goal health-wise for all of us.
I would agree. And the music is playing. I can't wait to have you back. You get one body, you get one mind, and you get one life. Get out there today and make the most of it.